In this video, you're going to learn 3 quick delay mixing tricks you can use to make your mixes more interesting and bring in a sense of width and depth without cluttering things up. Let's do it. What is up? This is Jake with Musician on a Mission. Let's jump right in with delay trick number 1. Use the vocal delay trick on snare. So when I say the vocal delay trick, I'm talking about adding a stereo slap delay with slightly different timing on each side. And if you want to dig into this a little bit more, make sure to check out the vocal delay trick video. This is an awesome technique for vocals, but you can also use it on snare. So this is a great way to really just bring in some more size and power. So let's set it up. So first, let's listen as is. Okay, cool. So we want to bring some more power to the snare here. First, I'm going to set up a new bus. I'm going to call this snare slap. Make sure we're routed correctly. Get my send level up. Then I'm going to add stereo delay. So the idea here is to get a really short kind of slap with slightly different timing on either side. So let's go ahead and dial that in. I'm going to do this in solo. So check this out, really quick delay times here, 57 milliseconds on the left, 35 milliseconds on the right. Now let's go ahead and blend that in with the original signal. And I'm gonna do this in context. Let's just solo the drums. Get a little bit closer here so you can really hear what's going on. Hear how much wider that snare is? Let's go ahead and solo just the snare. Now, you might be noticing that we're getting a little bit kind of this percussive kind of brr, 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 brr. Can't really hear it in context with the mix, but if that's something that's bothering you, we can address the high-end information right inside of this particular plugin. All right, now if you don't have Logic, you're not using Logic, or you don't have this plugin, and you can't high cut directly within the plugin, that's totally cool. Just add an EQ. So let's take a listen and dial this in. We kind of want to get rid of the stuttering, so we want to darken up the tone a little bit. Hear the difference there? Let's listen in context. So it still brings in the width, and it's a very, very subtle effect. We can always just crank it up. But the point is, if you're using this technique and it sounds a little bit too stuttery for you, you can dull the top end with some EQ. So like most things in mixing, a little goes a long way. So I like to use this as a less obvious effect, and only when I really need to. Listen to your snare and ask yourself, does this actually need to be this upfront and this powerful, or does something else in the mix need to take priority, like the vocals, for instance? And that's really just kind of a general rule of mixing. Don't forget to zoom out and think about the big picture when you're doing this really kind of granular zoom in kind of stuff. stuff. So continuing on with some slap delay tricks here. This is so simple, but has a really cool effect. We're going to create a quick slap delay and pan it to the opposite side. So if the source signal is panned to the left, the delay gets panned to the right, and vice versa. And this is a great way to add some depth, some ear candy for the listener, and it can actually make the original signal sound much wider. So let me show you what I'm talking about. We're going to go to our guitar here, and in the beginning of this track, there's only a hard left guitar part. So let's take a listen. Okay, so that guitar is just panned hard left. Let's make it a little bit more interesting by adding that slap delay and panning it to the opposite side. I'm going to go ahead, create a new aux track here, call this guitar slap. Make sure our routing is good. Get the send level up. And let's just add a very simple delay. We'll use the echo plugin. So in this section, since our guitar is panned all the way to the left, you can't see it on the panning here. It's just built right into the track. But since that signal is on the left side, we're going to pan our delay to the right side, and then we're going to dial it in here. Again, we're just looking to get a little bit of a quicker slap delay going here. You also want to make sure that this is actually in mono. So we're going to go ahead and switch that over. So we've got a mono delay panned all the way to the right side, and we're going for a quick slap. Let's dial this in. Just want a single slap here, so I'm bringing the feedback all the way down. So now the key to this effect is really going to be the color of the delay. Is it going to be a brighter delay or a darker delay? Just like we talked about on the snare drum. If it's too bright and it's creating clutter in the mix, let's make it darker. Really pushing it back in the mix by taking down that high end. All right, now let's see what kind of difference that makes. We're going to switch this on and off. So I don't know if you noticed that right there, but something really, really cool happens. The original signal in the left, as soon as we activate this delay, that original signal in the left speaker seems to pop right outside of the speakers. Right? It seems to widen even further left. So I want you to be listening for that. Let's do it again. Awesome, awesome. So you don't have to just stick to using this technique on like just guitars. You can use this for anything. Let's say you've got something like a tambourine, like I've got here, pan to the right. You can add a single mono delay and pan it the opposite direction, make it seem a little bit wider, make it sound like it's still sitting in a room. It's got a sense of space. Very cool kind of way to add a little bit of extra ear candy. Delay trick number 3, harness the power of sidechain compression. Now, sidechain compression can be a powerful tool. If you want to learn more about it in detail, make sure to check out the sidechain compression tutorial. But here's the quick version. Normally, you would add a compressor to the track you want to control, and the compressor is triggered by the signal flowing through that same track. With sidechain compression, you still add the compressor to the track you want to control, but instead of that compressor being triggered by that same track, you can tell the compressor to be triggered by a different track. So why would you want to do that? Well, you can use this technique to automatically reduce the volume of one track based on the signal level of another track, and this is commonly referred to as ducking. Now, I know this might sound a little bit confusing right now, but stick with me. We're going to get to a practical example in just a minute. So, sidechain compression, ducking, what does this have to do with delay? Let's say you've got a vocal with some delay on it, and you love the sound of the delay in between phrases, but it's just too much when the vocalist is actually singing. It's cluttering up the words and making things difficult to understand. So instead of going in and using volume automation to lower the delay levels every time the vocal comes in, we can duck the delay automatically by using sidechain compression. I know that's a lot of talk, that's a lot of explanation, so now let's set it up so you can see it in action. First, let's set up the delay on our vocal track. I'm going to call this LV delay. I'm going to make sure routing is correct. I'm going to bring send level to 0. Let's actually make this a stereo delay, and I'm actually going to toss in one of my favorite plugins here, the repeater, and let's dial in something nice. Okay, that's pretty good. But you can hear how this delay is cluttering up the lead vocal. Now let's solo these tracks. You can really hear what's going on. Won't you be mine? Won't you stay true? So now let's use some sidechain compression to automatically duck this delay out of the way and reduce that clutter. I'm just going to use stock compressor from Logic. And if we come up here to the sidechain section, bring down the drop-down menu, and we'll go ahead and set the sidechain to LV, our lead vocal. Now let's get this dialed in. Won't you be mine? Won't you stay true? I do my best not to advise you, but I just want some loving from you. So that's pretty obvious, right? We are compressing. We've got about 10 decibels here, a gain reduction on the lead vocal delay whenever the actual lead vocal is present. We're just telling the compressor to automatically reduce the volume level of the lead vocal delay so we don't have to do it manually with automation or anything like that. And from this point, you can dial in your threshold to tell the compressor how much to duck. You can also adjust your attack and release times to taste. Won't you be mine? Won't you stay true? I do my best not to advise you, but I just want some loving from you. You can have it kind of gradually come back in with a longer release. Won't you be mine? Won't you stay true? I do my best. Or you can have it quickly kind of pop back in with a faster release. Won't you be mine? Won't you stay true? I do my best not to advise you, but I just want some loving from you. Won't you be mine? Won't you stay true? And you can just kind of play around with this stuff to taste. The point is you can use this technique kind of as a utility, as kind of a shortcut to clean things up and as an alternative to using automation or something like that. So now let's listen in context. So those are your 3 quick delay mixing tricks, but this is just one small part of the process. You could use delay tricks all day and still end up with mixes that don't sound great if you make mistakes in other areas. So that's why my friend Rob, the founder of Musician on a Mission, put together a free workshop. He shares the 7 steps to making radio-ready music at home. And what you're going to see inside of this workshop is that Rob actually shares a completely new approach to home recording and mixing that's going to help you get radio-ready results much, much faster. And it hasn't just worked for him. Over 36,000 people have already been through this workshop, and they've seen results in a matter of days. If you want to avoid wasting time, money, and effort on the wrong things, then go and watch the free workshop. You can click the link you see on the screen now, or head to the link in the description to get access. It's completely free. Check it out. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe. This is Jake with Musician on a Mission, signing off. And remember, create regardless.